talked about several of these, but just I like going through the formula for the show and ask about a miss or two that came along. I mean, you've shared some things here and lessons you've learned from it, but
Yeah.
I'd love to hear if there's anything else that you'd like to talk about there.
So, misses. I I missed a lot. I think that there were a lot of times when I could have zigged and I zagged. Uh, I think, you got to stick to what you know. And it's a tough lesson to learn. But, I was approached many years ago to invest in a bar and in a restaurant. I did that and that was an utter failure. I knew nothing about the business. I couldn't step in and fix things. I didn't know, where the pitfalls were. I didn't know where the obstacles were. And I think, easy come, easy go, right? And like I said, if you don't work real hard for it, it's easy to kind of put it on the line and gamble it. I mean, and that's kind of how I was treating my capital, throughout my 30s. It was like being in a casino. And so today, what I've learned from my misses is that capital is so critical. I mean, you need to establish it. You got to have a war chest. You've got to have enough money to make it through a downturn, right? Anybody that's experienced the last 12 months knows. I mean, you don't have 6 months, 9 months of reserves. I don't know how you're going to survive. And I learned to live under my means. I will tell you, the number one miss that I have made in my life was spending money before I got it, creating debt. I don't create debt. I live debt free. I don't have a credit card with a balance on it. If I can't write a check for it, I don't buy it. And I don't care how much it is. I will not generate debt. I'm not going to pay 20% usury interest rates to a credit card for the pleasure of putting my groceries on a piece of plastic. And back in the early 2000s, I probably carried a $40,000 to $50,000, debt on my credit cards. The Amex man I used to be so afraid of the Amex guy, right? I think we've all been in that position. But, when they don't give you a credit limit, like my platinum card back in the day, there was no limit. If I wanted to go buy a $200,000 car, they weren't going to call me and tell me not to. They just wanted to make sure that they got paid at the end of the month. And I think, it's really easy to spend and not keep track because the money's always coming in. But the money stopped and my overhead was through the roof. I mean, I had 3 cars and 2 golf clubs and, then the business jet. I mean, what a disaster. Talk about a miss. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine too that when you're in those scenarios, doing what you're doing with the clients you're working with, I mean, these are the rich and famous, and
they are. They are.
that you're dealing with, and like you said, they're living a lifestyle. You're in and around them, and it's like, well, you're kind of hanging out with these folks. Guess what? Now all of a sudden you're spending all the money and buying whatever cars, watches, jewelry, whatever fancy thing is popular at the time, whatever it is, doesn't matter.
No, you're right. I mean, it's so funny because when I don't know, like my dad set me aside one day when I was young and he said, you don't want to go into a business meeting and have a nicer briefcase and a nicer, what we used to carry briefcases back in the day. Kids today have no idea what that is, but you don't want to have a nicer briefcase or a nicer watch than the guy you're going to sit down with. Right. And I don't know, I just learned some really valuable lessons about not trying to show up my client base, but I was dealing with, for the most part, my early career was dealing with maintenance guys, right? So I'd leave the BMW at home and I'd go rent a rental car. So I showed up in something that was very understated and I just didn't want to be a braggart. I didn't think that that was the right environment. When you're selling the plane, if you don't have the Rolex or the AP or the whatever it is, right? If you don't have a $5,000 suit on, they do not respect what you have to say. You're never going to be an equal to somebody that's got that kind of net worth, but they're just not going to do business with a peon, right? So you're now all of a sudden, and it's no different. I don't care what you do for a living. I bet you spend 20 to 25% of your paycheck supporting your job, right? It was the same thing. I had to buy this stuff to fit in, to be able to, the golf clubs, what a stupid waste of money. I mean, I love golf just as much as the other guy, but to drop that kind of money so that I can be, next to somebody and have the opportunity, but that's what it was all about. That was
Sure.
right. How do you meet
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
to buy a jet? I
Yeah.
mean,